kind of cue me in when you wanted to say something.
Okay.
We are live.
We're live.
We're live.
It's so weird with these eyes when I look at somebody. It's like, what's up, everybody? We're live. This is live number what, 3?
4? Really 5, but
Yeah. 3, 4, 5, whatever. I'm dropping gear here. So we're going to get into it. I mean, I can get started, or well, I guess we can just, I don't know, you guys want to just talk? Frank, how was your weekend? Anything good?
Mine was good. We were watching you guys live right now, actually, which is good.
okay.
Weekend was good. Weekend was strong. Watched a couple soccer games. Took my kids to soccer. How about you guys?
Nice. Yeah, busy football weekend, of course. In our parts of the neck of the woods here, it's, minus 100, it feels like. So kind of brutal. But no, it's good. I mean, everything's good. We're excited to kind of get going here today. I mean, I can jump in whenever you want.
Well, I think we should get into it, but if we're going to finish off with, I had a speaking engagement this weekend.
I forgot to bring that up. Yeah.
And one of the things that was really cool is, I believe a lot of people are a lot of us, we're kind of walking through life and not really fully awake.
Yeah.
And so thinking about, I don't know, like I talk to my kids when they're asleep. I talk to my loved ones when they're asleep. Right? I say things to them.
Sure.
I believe that like on a subconscious level, they're hearing it, and I want to provide that positive reinforcement. And things. So I tell them I love them, or even when I'm praying with them, or whatever the case is, I like to just kind of share things with them. And so when I'm interacting with folks, I mean, let's face it, most of the time, people are only half listening to the conversation anyway. So I have this thing where I like to jar the audience a little bit, or just say something that is a little bit disruptive. And so this past weekend, I did that. Okay. And it was funny because the whole room went silent. And they thought, people I know were thinking that I was making kind of a sexist comment. So
what did you say?
Well, I said that, let me just give a little context here so we don't go around offending a lot of people. Most of the people that I interact with that I help with their businesses are men. Now, there are women, a lot of women. In fact, the leadership team of my businesses are predominantly women. So there's not an issue there. Mm-hmm. But most of the time when I'm speaking to someone that owns a company, they happen to be a man. Yeah. And so I have this statement that I say. It's like, men are not allowed to lie. Yeah. Right. Women and children can lie, but men can't. And, and everybody kind of freezes. Yeah. And what's fantastic about it is like, I know they're awake now. The same way, like when I'm talking to my child and they're asleep and I want to keep them asleep, I just want to, whisper those things to them because I believe it's beneficial. In this way, it's like, hey, let me say something a little bit provocative. Yeah. Not for provocative sake, but rather to kind of wake them up. And then go through and explain that, who doesn't tell the truth, right? When do we lie? And it's usually when someone is afraid of the outcome. Yeah. So there's some sort of fear driving that. And from our conversations, you know that I do not demonize fear. I think it's a very important human element. So it's a part of us for a reason. It's very helpful. But if we understand that we usually lie because we're afraid of a consequence, don't we want our men to have the courage to go out there and battle that? Just whatever the case is. So very simply. And so when I'm explaining that to them and saying, hey, we need to be honorable. And I'm challenging that person. We need to be honorable. Your yes needs to be yes. And your no needs to be no. And when you do that, it costs that short-term influence that we discuss often, but you gain that long-term authority. And you're seen a certain way. And so I could still see like the audience is a little bit shaken. And then I kind of go through and I kept reinforcing that point around deal with the consequences. When we're so hooked on what the outcome is going to be, right? We start performing. We change our behavior so that we accomplish this desired outcome rather than being more authentic. And kept driving the point home. I finally got it to where everybody understood it, but they didn't accept, it was just kind of a little bit this way. And they said, and of course I don't want women and children to lie either. And it was cool because then everybody started laughing and they knew that I didn't mean it, but for a while I held it in its suspense. Yeah, that'll get. And it was really interesting, but what a great event the folks over at Brick and Mortar put on. Level Up. Scotty K from US 99 was there. He was the moderator, did a fantastic job.
Yeah, you said how great that guy is at what he does.
He's absolutely incredible. He's just like a natural interviewer.
Yeah.
He did a fantastic job, but the whole team did wonderful.
Yeah, very cool. That was a great event. I mean, they're trying to do some cool things with it. I mean, just that whole concept that they have, it's very smart, and they get good people in the room. The other attendees that were there seemed like a great group. So, I mean, cool. I mean, that's the kind of things that I like, is when people try to bring people together, especially in a digital world. We can do it like this, but anytime you can get together in person, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, wait a second, you're real.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of a little bit weird sometimes. It's like, wait, it's like when you see that teacher in the grocery store or something. It's like, out of context.
But they have a life outside of the classroom.
Exactly.
Well, should we jump in?
Yeah, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to read this opening, just kind of set the tone, and then we'll kind of go into, kind of what people are here, what they're going to learn today, and we'll go from there. Cool.
All right. So we're going to make sure we get you some good points right at the front end, so you know why to keep listening.
Yeah.
Outside of our humor or lack thereof.
All right, I'm gonna read this opening, and as always, guys, we got Frank on the back end here. So any questions that you guys might have, anything that you want us to address, etc., pop it in there. Even if it's off topic, something that we can get to even after the fact. We're open. So let me rock and roll on this opening. So most people don't lack clarity; they lack permission. Permission to decide without full certainty. Permission to disappoint someone. Permission to stop explaining themselves. So they keep saying, I just need more clarity. But what they really want is safety. In leadership, in business, in life, clarity almost never feels clean. It feels heavy. It costs something. And it usually shows up when there are two good options and no obvious right one. Today, we're going to talk about why clarity is complicated, why more information often makes things worse, why being clear doesn't always calm people down, and how to make decisions you can live with, even when the outcome is uncertain. This isn't about confidence, it's about alignment. And if you've been stuck, second guessing, or carrying tension, you can't quite name this conversation is for you. So there you go. And I'm going to go into I love this, by the way. And we can dig into this a little bit more. Mm-hmm. But
I like this statement. So last week I was kind of discussing something with someone, and I said, what you're saying makes sense if you're trying to confuse things, right? Like how many times do people add something to it? And so even with more information, it actually makes it more confusing. Yeah. And so this topic around clarity being complicated, we've heard this for years, right? I didn't have enough time to write a short speech, or whatever the case is. It really, more information is not necessarily better. Sometimes it's a lot more noise and makes it more confusing. So I love that we're going to be talking about this here today.
Yeah, no, this is great. So what you guys are going to get out of watching this today. So by the end of this podcast, here's what, a few things that you guys can expect to walk away from. A new definition of clarity. Not certainty, not confidence, but alignment under pressure. Then we're going to touch on language for frustrations they already feel. So this is what you're going to learn, right? So when instructions turn into debates, that never happens.
Never.
Right? When effort doesn't equal results, and when everything feels urgent and nothing moves.
I think another item is around like, you don't need to over-explain.
Yeah.
And so many times people want to be understood. Sometimes you just make a statement and let them sit with it. Mm-hmm. And far too often people are explaining on this because of that. Just make a statement and let them sit with it. You don't know how they're going to interpret it. Right. And giving them more information isn't necessarily helpful. So that piece around you have permission to stop over explaining.
Well, you're one step ahead of me. So permission to stop over explaining and understand when clarity requires authority, not more logic. That's great too. A way to make hard decisions without betraying themselves, even when the choice costs approval, comfort, or consensus. That's another great one. And then peace without guarantees, not because the outcome is safe, but because the process is honest.
Well, there, Steve, again, I think we have to look at our words around peace, like our inner peace. It's not outcome driven. When we're at peace, it's a signal. Mm-hmm. So we got to remember that it's not an outcome.
Yeah.
Peace is a signal. When I feel like, hey, I did what I thought was the right thing, I'm settled, regardless of that outcome. Now, once that outcome comes, it might cause disruption to me, and I have to make another decision to get back to being at that peaceful, centered position. But I know you're going through those points, but making those nuances that I believe this discussion is going to be powerful for people because we're going to be able to show how being worried about the outcome is one of the most confusing things for people. It manipulates their behavior for an outcome that they're hopeful of and they believe it's going to work, but it doesn't necessarily work that way, and they start to drift away from who they really are. And so again, when we make decisions, we want them to align. We want our hands, our heart, and our mind to align. And when we do that, we're in the direction of having that inner peace. And so this is critical. So again, it's not outcome driven. Our lives are journeys with lots of decisions along the way, and we want to feel good in the way that we handle things. And then when we don't feel good about it, we want to take the next step to get back on track. So I believe this is going to be really cool.
No, this is great. I think that's one of the biggest issues too people have. I know I've run into that time and time again, where you want to know the outcome before you even do the work, and it just doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? It's like riding a bike or anything. You got to just kind of do. Take the information that you have, what is the objective, and do. Because if you sit there and you stew on it or you try to get it perfect, I mean, we've all done it. Like there's people that start businesses where they spend months on logos and business and all this stuff. It's like just start. Imperfect is better than nothing at all. Okay, cool. I mean, I love it. Let's dive into it. Do you want me to go into the paradox?
Well, I think we should do the paradox. So the paradox is paradox 3 is clarity is complicated, and for each of the sections of the book, so we have 8 paradoxes where we challenge conventional thinking, and the whole idea there is that we want people to have an open mind. Without the open mind, you just keep running the plays that you had before, and that's what I'm saying. Like people are kind of asleep; they're just in the pattern of doing, and that's fine. We want to get into good patterns, and so if we can disrupt the thinking just a bit and allow enough space for our minds to be open, to have new ideas come in, and so this piece that Steve's going to read is the preface to that section, and in that section within the book, there are a bunch of mini chapters that dive into real experiences, real events and stories that help fill in the color on the topic. So Steve is going to read this here for us so that we have that context. But maybe before we jump in, Frank, are there any questions or any comments out there that we should respond to?
I think so. Myra is asking, is this part of your book?
Yeah, so this piece that we're about to read, so the book, there's a series of books. The first one, it's released, comes out March 3rd, so the pre-orders will be ready in another week or so. And the name of the book is Embrace for Impact, and it's Crack the MyOS Code, so crack your own operating system code and win the inner war. That's the name of the first book that's being released. There's also a book around overcoming your coping identities, and there's other pieces in the series that we're building out now. But that's the first book, and so here on the channel we're talking about these things much more in depth. So the root of it is, or the foundation of it is the book, and these topics we can only say so much in a book, or to expound on that and the principles and add to. So yes, it is tied to the book.
Follow-up question: is it a business book or a self-help book?
Well, that's not the right dichotomy for what we're doing. This is about helping people, achievers, achieve more and have more peace. The genesis of it really is that far too many families break apart, especially where there's high achievement. And it's related to the way that people communicate with one another and the way the family dynamics are in things. And so what we're trying to do here is elevate the argument or the point of view from the achiever, as well as their family and their team, the people that have to work with them, so that we can ensure that all people matter, not just the achiever, and also not overly burden that achiever, which is what frequently happens. And that's a big part of my story, is that I have suffered from self-erasure, basically going along to get along and carrying the burdens of other people. I provide for a lot of people's families outside of my own, and that's fine. And that's my funny statement to my mom is, hey, I have to get back to work. I have other people's bills to pay. But the idea here is that if we can talk about things that elevate both sides of an argument of two people that love each other, when they work together, they'll have even better solutions. So This is applicable in every area of your life. So a stronger you means that first you're stronger, more at peace in yourself, and then each of your relationships become stronger because you're better aligned with yourself, and then your business is stronger, your communities are stronger. So the impact is everywhere, but we directed it towards that group and then the people around them, because it kind of sets the tone for a lot of things.
Okay, I think you guys can jump in here.
All right, let me jump in. So paradox 3, clarity is complicated. I love this one. We all know the feeling of being pulled in too many directions. The mental tug of war between priorities, expectations, and uncertainty can be exhausting. When we feel torn, we second guess our instincts, overanalyze what others might think, get lost in too many options, and hesitate out of fear of making the wrong choice. We get stuck. The way out of that? Clarity. And here's the thing, context creates clarity. Not only that, mastering your context accelerates clarity, and with it, decision-making. So I want to stop there for a second, because you kind of nailed it here. This is a huge problem. Like, there's so many people that just, you can easily complicate simple things. And this doesn't have to do with business. It can be, you want to get fit, or you want to have a cleaner house, or more money, whatever the case may be. If you don't get that kind of simple level of what's my next step, it can become like, you're in quicksand. Like, what do I do next? Because that list of things that you think are going to get you there, it can just become overwhelming.
Sure. Just that whole analysis paralysis piece. But even still, it's like this burden of feeling like I don't have enough information, and so I'm held back, or I'm not sure how people are going to receive it, and then it's all of this doubt, and there's this push to, if you want to make progress, you have to do something. So I'm not for, hey, just jump in and take action, and I'm also not to get, hey, let's get lost in examining it 1,000 ways. It's if the item doesn't have that kind of risk, why are you treating it like it does? So give something its due. So if it's like anything else, if the item isn't worth more than spending 5 minutes on it, why are you spending 3 hours on it? There has to be some sort of gauge on things. And so if it's life-threatening, of course, lots of deliberation and be very cautious. But if it's not, don't treat it like it is. So everything being in its rightful order is critical.
Nice. I'm going to continue here. So leadership demands clarity, especially when it comes to important decisions. Sometimes this means rejecting conventional wisdom. We cannot wait until all uncertainty disappears, because it never will. That's important to understand deep in your being. Clarity isn't about eliminating doubt. It's about knowing how to move forward despite the doubt. It's about cutting through the fog and making decisions you can be proud of, even in complex, high-pressure situations. So I guess for you, when you're managing, and running teams, like if you're talking to a high achiever, or just a leader of a team, how do you know, like, when your team is overwhelmed, and what do you do about it?
Well, overwhelmed is an interesting word.
Yeah.
If somebody self-identifies as being overwhelmed, I take it as a statement that, hey, I'm not doing a great job, and I know it.
Right.
But,
That's interesting.
I believe it's a signal for that.
Yeah.
I just don't hear a lot of high achievers saying that they're overwhelmed. It's just not a normal phrase that come out of that. Like,
no, but I mean, what I'm asking is, like, when they're teams, like, so you're managing teams, or you're a high achiever, like you're in this boat, right? You're running multiple businesses and all these things. When you sense things that are waffling, or people that you might think feel overwhelmed, how do you right that ship for your team?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that when it comes to overwhelmed in particular, that word, if someone shares it with me, it's that way. Now, if you're asking me, hey, John, your team is stuck, and they're not able to make the progress on the item, that's a different way of asking that. And so that's where context really matters. And so you have to look at for me, I look at the person and try to see. There's a woman on my team who's an outstanding performer. She gets all kinds of things done, and she plows through work, and just is so systematic. And when she's behind, it's a signal to me. When she's behind, it's a signal that I know that when she's behind, she doesn't feel good about her work. And when she doesn't feel good about her work, that there's like a self-destruct button that she could hit.
Yeah.
And so that's where we come in and say, hey, all right, let's take a look at this. Just from the signal, how can I help move forward? And in this person in particular, her strength is in being the doer. Like she knocks things out. And what is in the shadow for her is to delegate these things adequately to other people.
Yeah.
So she's not as great. She knows that if she does it, it's going to be done right, and she doesn't have to worry about it.
Right.
When she gives it to other people, she doesn't have the same level of confidence in that. So then she holds on to more things than she can. Then she holds on to more things than she can accomplish. And for me, that's where my coaching can kick in. So I want her to be successful. I've given her responsibilities. The work is piled up. With her, I know I need to go solve how it can flow through to other people.
Yeah.
And then I also need to directly address some of the obstacles. It might be me having a conversation or whatever with somebody else, or me encouraging her to find the right kind of help, or something. I can remove obstacles that are kind of like damming up the water, right? We need the river to flow. There's these unexpected and undesired dams that have built up the water. Let's go remove some of those things and have it go. But for me, there's a signal, and each person is different. For my people that are doers, is that they're backing up, and when they back up and aren't accomplishing things, very easy for them to slide into something of feeling like they're not effective, not doing a good job, and all the self-doubt that kicks in. And I try to help prevent that.
Good question here on this topic. What if someone is overwhelmed not because of the work, but because of their life that creeps into their work?
Well, that's part of being human, right? So I can't separate my work issues from my home issues. If I'm being affected emotionally, it's hard to shut those things off. And so those are just challenges of life. And so working within a team and making sure that your responsibilities are handled. What's incredible about teams is that in most work, and this isn't all work, I understand that, but so many people work in an environment where someone else can pick up the load that they're carrying. And that's part of how great relationships are built. Yeah. So if we have a shared mission, I'm all in, you're all in, but for some reason you have an ailment or an injury. Let's just say it's in a sport and it's basketball, and you had a recent ankle sprain, your ankle's not at 100%, it's at 80%. Your teammates will have to pick up and carry, but we need you on the court for different reasons. So when we're not at 100%, there are other people out there that care about you, that are on your team, that have a shared mission that will support what you're doing. So it's leaning on them and appreciating them for being able to lean on them, and then providing that same piece is part of how you build great relationships, where you get that grace and are able to not perform at your peak all the time.
Great.
Anything else? All right, let me continue. One of my favorite sayings, and when I say one of mine, it's yours.
Okay.
One of my favorite sayings is, your raise becomes effective when you do. It's a clever way to remind ourselves that clarity begins with self-awareness. You need to know where you currently stand and how to align with the direction of your team, organization, or life is heading. Many employees miss this point, filling their days with busyness. Even more leaders and business owners do. Did I get that right? Yeah. Remember, don't be too busy to make money. You love that one too. Paradox 3 emphasizes the need for a leadership compass, a tool to guide you when complexity clouds the way. By the end of this paradox, you'll have taken the first steps towards developing strategies to cut through the noise, align your actions with your vision, and build momentum. Love that. There have been so many times I've felt pulled in too many directions. I often feel as if there are so many things I could be doing that it's hard to identify what to do first. If you experience this too, then you already know this can be overwhelming, even paralyzing. That's why we need to create our own reset buttons. Reminders to stay grounded in our values and focused on our mission. This book is full of them, including one of my favorites, which is so apropos here. Accountability is crucial to keeping things clear. So when it comes to, and I always just think of this myself. It's like, when you're an entrepreneur, I mean, we all have, if you are an entrepreneur watching this, chances are you've got a notebook filled with 1,000 different business ideas, and it can be very easy to let that distract what is the next best step for where you're going in whatever, you're trying to do right now. So like, I always think of this as just like, what's the next best move? Like, okay, this is the project, this is the goal, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, instead of thinking of big picture, it's just like, and I've heard people use this term. I think James Clear, has used this in his Atomic Habits, is like 1% better. So it's not like, God, I want to be this tomorrow. It's like, what can I do today that at the end of the day, I can look back and go, okay, I moved the ball a little bit. I improved a little bit. It just helps you kind of, me anyway, clarify the priorities and get rid of that list of stuff and say, okay, this is most important right now. What happened today what can I do today to move that forward?
Sure. Well, progress is very important. It positively affirms what we've done. There's that positive reinforcement. And it also lets us gauge. And then if we didn't make progress, we can examine why and try to refine our craft. So there's a lot around accountability and monitoring for progress that I think is important for people to pay attention to. I think people are really focused on how they look.
Yeah.
And I believe that's the biggest challenge. If everything had to be just right in order to move forward, well, nothing would be just right. And so I don't like you were just saying, hey, getting rid of all these other things. I don't know that that's possible for somebody that's entrepreneurial and creative, and they're innovating, they're problem solving, and that's their strength.
Yeah.
So what I do is I create a parking lot. So I have all these, what I call good ideas, and other people might think are terrible ideas, but these ideas that I think are great. And then I document them so they're out of my head.
Yeah.
Then I'm a little bit easier. Like I feel a little bit, I don't feel the unease of, hey, should we do this or shouldn't we? It's like documented. And then I put that in something that I review once a quarter. So once a quarter, I go through all my parking lot of ideas that I had and say, hey, is it time for any of these to come out? So having this timed interval gets it off of my mind, and then having a place where I store them. Now, sometimes I revisit it throughout the 90 days.
Sure.
It's just that I know that I'm not going to look at it formally until 90 days arise, unless I want to go into that parking lot to look for ideas. Hey, something came up and there's an opportunity here. Let's go look at all the things that we were considering, and then is it time to activate one of those? Yeah. But for me, getting it off of my mind is wildly helpful in keeping my mind clear.
Yeah, I love it. The parking lots, you've used that for years. It's just a great one. I still do that to this day. I've got my little notebook with my parking lot that will probably always sit on my shelf somewhere. It's just too big now. What am I going to do?
Sure.
Well, let me wrap this up.
My daughter has been journaling since she was a little girl, and I believe she's on volume 27.
Oh, wow,
now.
That's awesome.
27 volumes of her life. I would love to just when she's a little bit older, just read them all.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Read everything from her perspective throughout those years. And it's kind of like a diary / journal. Yeah. So it's both. And then within there, she's written stories. But again, you can learn a lot about what's going on based on what someone writes. And then the same thing with the parking lot. So when you're putting items in your parking lot, look at the theme, because it might be revealing to you a risk that you see, or a concern that you see, or a theme of opportunity that you have. So it's not just item by item, but it's also taking things in their entirety and processing it accordingly.
Hey guys, we got a couple new faces on here, some new chats going on. Can you just give a quick, from where we're at and where we started, a little recap of what you covered, and then we can kind of move forward from there. So just for all the new folks joining us, we hit some good numbers. So go ahead and just kind of recap the topic and where we are to this point.
All right. Well, that's a big ask. These people are demanding. You need to be on time up in this bad boy.
They want to know where you're talking.
Yeah. Well, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
We're talking about clarity is complicated, and how important it is that we recognize that we don't want to be paralyzed by wanting to make sure that we're always understood. It doesn't always require that we're fully understood, and that's a little bit of a hard to understand concept at first, because it doesn't sound right. But how many times do we fully understand what the other person meant or didn't mean? And a lot of times in work, I'll tell somebody what I want done, and they won't do it. They'll treat my instruction as a suggestion, and that's frustrating. So what we're doing here is diving into the topic that clarity is complicated, and that there are a lot of frustrations that we have around not having full clarity, and it's paralyzed people. And we're trying to give people the permission to stop over-explaining and just interact. Your authority says certain things, your position says certain things, and try to put yourself in a position to win without destabilizing everything through the over-explaining.
Yeah.
That's a chunk of it.
Great. Yeah, that's awesome.
Anything else?
It's a really good thing to do every,
Yeah.
because we do have a lot of people that just come in and out. So it's always nice to refresh the topic.
Cool. Let me just wrap this piece up here. So complexity is an inherent part of leadership. Between shifting priorities, diverse teams, and countless moving parts, leaders must master the art of navigating chaos without losing its nuance. True clarity means simplifying complexity without oversimplifying it. This paradox will guide you to build your clarity by embracing complexity, distilling it into priorities, and creating tools to navigate with confidence. Get unstuck, be you. That's great. I mean, this last one here is a big promise, from the book, but something that really is, it's a game changer, in business and life, because life is life. It's unavoidable. I mean, we deal with it. We've got kids, all three of us. I mean, things can get very complicated when you mix in work, different things, different initiatives. To get that clarity and keep feeling like you're moving forward is just, it's a confidence builder. It just is. So I like it.
Great.
Was that great? All right. Yeah, no, I like
We
it.
need a little more poetic pause here.
Yeah.
There's another question come in. John, do you ever get stuck with issues you just can't get clear on for one reason or another?
So
And maybe just repeat the question in your answer.
So when I get stuck, let me say it further, because we're going to dive into some topics that are more frustrating. When I get frustrated, it's typically when at least two of my strengths are battling each other, like two for one way and two for the other way. And so this internal conflict that leads to my frustration on topics is there. And my way out of that, and this is something that I've continuously worked on, is how do I do something that will help the other person, leave them in as good of a position as I can without violating what I believe to be me, like where I'm not going to violate myself. And so almost like, what's the best I can do for them while maintaining kind of like that boundary that I'm not going to betray myself. And that's the key for me to move through things, because people struggle and they battle and we don't always understand things. And sometimes, you're getting compensated to do something, you just have to deliver. So there's a lot of things at play there. And I'm only frustrated when I have at least two of my strengths fighting two of my other strengths. And that's where I look for what's going to be best, in my opinion, for that other person without betraying myself. And that's how I run through it.
Great, thank you.
Cool. Well, if you want to jump into this first one here?
The authority frustration? Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, let's do it. You want to take it away with the authority frustration? You want me to lead it?
Well, so that was what I was talking about earlier, where things that I say that I want done and people treating that direction or instruction as a suggestion. And that's pretty frustrating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, anytime you're dealing with a lot more than most too, with the multitude of things that you're dealing with on an ongoing basis. There's no doubt about it. So, to bring clarity and move things forward, especially when you are, the head of something or running something or the authority. Yeah, I mean, because your brain is two steps ahead, right? It's like what's going to happen, and when it's not moving the way that you want it to, that can be very frustrating.
Well, what happens is that there's this authority flip that happens. So hey, I want this done, and it's like making a decision. Mm-hmm. If I have to make the decision, and I'm seeking information from others, I'm already informed on the item. I'm looking for these different points of view. I get those together. From that, I weigh it. I make my decision. I want to move on. Mm-hmm. I give that instruction. Well, those other people are not as informed as me, mm-hmm. because I know what we're trying to do, and I pulled in all these different points of view. And I say this even in relationships. And again, another one of those statements that I make that gets people to wake up is I'll say things like, if you can't ignore what your partner has to say and do what you think is best, you probably shouldn't marry them. And again, it's controversial, but it's really not. Like you have to maintain agency to make decisions for yourself. You have to. And when like if I was to go home, if I'm married and I'm facing some struggles at work and I bring that issue home and I present it to my spouse and she says, hey, I think you should fire him based on what her perspective is, but she doesn't know how that person has close relationship with our key clients, that he's integral to operations, that there's a lot of good things that are going on as well. So her response to just go out there and fire him without knowing all those other things, like, is that really good advice? It's just her point of view. So the way that I look at it is almost like I'm in the center. Like I'm looking at the issues at the center, and I'm looking at it, and I'm looking for a person over there that I trust to tell me what they see from that side, because I can't see that side of this ball. Like if there was a ball here, I couldn't see that side, and so asking for these different points of view helps me have a more well-rounded understanding of the item, and then I can move forward and make my decision. But if you can't ignore the advisor, if you just have to adopt what they said because of what their point of view told them, but they're not considering the whole, you can't really follow that blindly. And so what happens is when I'm going to make a decision and I say what I want done, people are still operating only from their point of view. And then if I have to sell them on what we need to do, and I'm the leader and they're on my team, and they're on my team because they help me accomplish my goals, there's a disconnect that happens. And that's the piece that's wildly frustrating for me, that they treat my direction as being a suggestion.
Interesting.
And you know what's the problem with that too, is that for me personally, and I'm sure this is true for a lot of people out there, one of the worst things for my team to have, one of the worst experiences I'll have, is if I'm the one carrying the clipboard. If you're not self-accountable and you don't handle things on your own, if I have to go back and remind you, I will, like, for some reason, I remember these things. I feel them. It's not just like it's in my mind. It's like, I know this is off. I know that's off. And it's like by feel. And if I carry the clipboard, I'm going to make people feel really awful about themselves. And it's just I'm not doing it intentionally to make them feel that way. Like that's not my desired outcome, but you didn't handle the item. I told you what I wanted. I told you when. Like there's just such a practical, no nonsense approach to what I'm saying. And then they'll convert it into being something harsh when it's not harsh. It's just direct, but people aren't used to somebody being direct like that. And so I know that it's a frustration point for me when people look at it that way. And then when they interpret it that other way, it's like they're putting a big wedge between me and wanting to work with them.
Interesting. Okay. I like that. So I guess, how do you know when like a lack of clarity is actually a lack of authority?
If I have to, that's my point. If I have to sell you on doing what needs to be done, if I have to convince you of it, then you're really not following my lead. And if I'm the leader and you're the person supporting me in that, and you're not willing to do the things that I want, if I have to convince you of them, am I really the authority?
Right.
They've kind of flipped the authority.
Yeah, I see where you're going.
So now I have to convince you. Like, I know we have a book coming out. I know that we need a team of people. We need a grassroots movement here to really move the message. So we've been on a lot of podcasts. We've been guests, we've written all kinds of things for all kinds of different places. If I don't activate those folks and get them to help share the message, it's a waste of time. Like all of that it was a waste of opportunity. Why aren't we capitalizing on those opportunities to help move the message? If the book is powerful and it's going to help a lot of people, and we have this network, why aren't we using it? Why are we letting that sit idle? Why are we making our work more difficult? And then you say, what kind of team makes the role more difficult? A non-aligned one, and then it kind of opens up. So like clarity is complicated. If you're on the support side, you're on the support. Someone's entrusting their goals to you. If you don't actively pursue them, you're actually in the way of progress. And people self-describe themselves as part of the team, and I'm all in and I'm going to do that. But are you? Right? Are you? Clarity is complicated. Your hands, your heart, and your mind all need to align around what you're doing in order for that to be true. And so this Clarity is Complicated is meant to expose that.
No, it's great. I love it. You want to touch on any of these counterintuitive points, or you want to move on to the next one?
I think we should talk about some of those counterintuitive points. Frank, can you send over that water?
Sure.
Thanks. Thank you.
Rich says, authority flip is incredible point to bring up, and not only at work, but in everyday life too.
I have a great sentence. Ready for it? Stop me when I'm making too much sense, right? And I find myself saying, like, when I have to convince people, I don't mind clarifying for people when it's appropriate. Like sometimes I just say, like, I once heard a story about a ship where the captain of the ship, whatever he says, you have to do without review. And so to make it simple, there's a piece on a boat that swings. So if the captain of the ship says, drop to the ground, and the person says, well, why do you want me to drop to the ground, right? But this boom is swinging around and it's going to knock you off the ship or kill you, and you have to question it. Like there's this follow what the leader is saying. The leader is the one that's responsible for the outcome. The leader has a lot more information. If you have to convince, if the leader has to continuously convince you of what to do, you're really not on that team. There's times where we want somebody to kind of debate a topic, but let's face it, most of the time in business, we're not debating, we're trying to execute. We're trying to solve, a little bit of debate there, and then execute. Strategy, heavy debate. But once it's decided, that's what our activities need to be, not bickering. I call it bickering. When they have to convince one another, it's more of like an ego battle, and it's like bickering back and forth. And I just kind of withdraw from those kinds of things. And so like we kind of so in that kind of counterintuitive point, if you're not going to do what I want you to do, should I still have you on my team? So that sounds harsh, but what's harsher? Me believing that you're going to do it because you said you would. That I offered you a job to help me. You said yes. I'm paying you. You're cashing the check, and then you're not doing. Is that harsh? Or me saying, hey, I told you what I want done. I want it done. Which one's really harsh? And so I think it's counterintuitive because it's usually looked at as the leader is being harsh, but it's not being viewed with that same kind of critical lens as to what the other person's doing. So if I have to explain everything to you before you do it, then I'm convincing you. So I say less words, one sentence. This is what I need. And if the person doesn't understand it, then we could talk about it. I mean, make sure your points are clear. I'm not saying that this is what you adopt in all situations. It's just a matter of saying, if you find yourself convincing your people to do what you know is to be right, like if you've done it, once you've trained them and they know, if you have to keep doing that, it's a signal that they might not be the right person for your team.
So like, what if that keeps coming up for you? Like how do you tackle that? Like if it's an ongoing theme where that's kind of how things are processing in an organization or relationship, whatever it may be, like how do you address that?
Well, you look at what's like, so in my case, I own the company, right? If I own the company, I'm the fixture, right? I'm not moving. I mean, like I'm going to be here. And so I should be building a team that works to my strengths that I can grow and then can live beyond me, but I have to work within the strengths that I have and build a team so that the strengths I have live and breathe within my business. Right? It starts off, think about the way a company starts off. There's a certain kind of culture. And so the idea that I have to be a leader that I'm not, come up with some manufactured way of being, and then try to have myself aligned to it and get everybody else to align to it when it's not natural to me, that doesn't sound like the recipe for success. And if you just look at most small businesses, they're a reflection of their owner. The core values are a reflection of the owners, or the founders' core values. So, the thing is, teams don't feel safe when everything's negotiable. They actually like the structure. And these people that aren't accountable disrupt the structure. I have that there's like, hey, we want this stuff reported in this tool. It needs to be in here, it needs to be reported. I have somebody who just goes rogue. I'm not doing it. He doesn't do it. But that lack of accountability does not yield great results. That, like, hey guys, let's go out there and do this. Let's not be accountable. Let's not report in the way that we need to so that we're informed. I'm just going to do it on my own as like this, fighting a one-man revolution. I'm going to do it all my way. And then, you guys will just you benefit in that. It's such a poor way of looking at things.
Yeah.
Yet it happens. And it happens in my own companies where, it's like a sit-in protest. Like, I'm not going to do what you want me to do. Who are you to do that? Like, who are you to just completely disregard that? And you're getting into things where people identify as their job, and then any criticism of what they're doing is a criticism of them and their very existence, and all this other nonsense. And it's so destructive. It's like it's actually toxic to a team. And I mean, accountability is at the center of accomplishment for business.
Yeah, no, I like it. So moving on, I'm going to do this next one here. Explaining less can increase trust more than explaining more. It's counterintuitive.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I mean, like, again, that was the point I just made earlier. Like, I have to explain it.
Right.
If I feel the need that I have to over-explain, it's like I'm trying to sell you. I don't want to sell you. You're on my team. I'm paying for a reason.
Right.
This is what we want to do, and we're moving through it. And so that habit gets people in the pattern of, well, I don't move forward on my action to do what I'm told until I've been convinced. Right. I'm saying stop participating in that pattern.
Yeah.
Break the pattern. This is what I'm looking for. Can you do it? Yes. Okay. I expect this done by this time.
Yeah.
And that clarity, like, less words actually creates more order. The less words will actually create more order.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything going on, Frank, that we should jump into? Don't read those.
Another statement here. Sometimes making too much sense makes no sense to others who have no sense. What's your thoughts on that comment?
Thank you for your 2 cents. I agree. That's
enough said.
That's pretty solid. All right. Let's move on to the second one here. Execution frustration. So effort without results. People say they're aligned, but the results don't reflect it. So what breaks first when clarity is missing? Effort, sequence, or ownership?
I don't know. What do you think?
Next one.
No, I mean, so
when clarity is missing, I think probably a little bit of all three, right?
Yeah.
I mean, effort, sequence, or ownership, probably a little bit of all three.
Yeah, but look at what we're trying to confront. That we're talking about frustrations at work.
Yeah.
Right. So what's frustrating when we're talking about clarity is complicated. What's frustrating around execution? Like, when is it? And so for me, a big item is when people say that they're all in, right? And I believe them. So remember, they've said it, and I believed them. And then their actions aren't there.
Yeah.
So it's like their mind is there, their heart is there, but their hands aren't there. They're not actually doing the work of executing in the direction of what we're shooting for. And then they'll use, hey, I wasn't sure what to do, or busyness, or something else that takes accountability off of the accomplishment of the item and into all these distracting topics. Well, I got this, you said that, well, before you said this other item, and you just, I listened to it, I'm like, are you for real? Like, we've forgotten that there's a structure here, that there's somebody who's paying the bill, they're paying for something, and for you to say these things, you actually make it more complicated. If I didn't think that you were all in, I could handle it differently. But when you tell me that you're going to do it, and then you don't do it, and then you try to justify why you didn't do it by blaming other work, wow, that person doesn't accept accountability. I'm going to be very hesitant to want to give that person something. Like, I would not build anything with that person, because they're revealing, they're giving me a signal that is, I won't take ownership of my mistakes, and I'm going to blame someone else. I'm going to point the finger. And I want people that are tenacious on my team, tenacious at getting things done. And those finger pointers, like, not to label them, but I'm saying, like, ultimately that's what's happening for me. I don't know. I just don't want to be a part of it.
Interesting. Okay.
So we have one of the questions, kind of like parallels this into home life. Like, if this kind of rears its head in like doing the duties at home, and how to it's a little more personal, right? So you have to, how do you navigate that where somebody's not showing up at home?
Well, it's a different dynamic, right? That is let's say it's a marriage, and till death do us part. That's the statement people have made to one another. There's an all-inness, actually in Christian teaching, that when people get married, two become one, and so it's a shared life, like two become one, and there's this push for like I want you to live comfortably knowing that I'm in your corner no matter what, right? Like there's this kind of relationship piece that's like, I'm going to be at your side till death do us part. And when someone believes that someone sees them in that manner, and then kind of lives that way, the amount of grace that you give one another, the amount of support you give one another, the amount of love for one another is strong. Now, that doesn't mean there's not issues, but people have redefined issues to be problems. But if you reframe that and say, hey, I was down, I was in a bad mood, and she loved me anyway. Or hey, I was not in a good headspace, and she took care of the kids and kept them away so I could get caught up, or gave me the time, or whatever. There's a lot of things that we can reframe in our heads and see the actions of others being positive. And so if somebody is falling short, stepping up for them and helping carry that load is one of the beautiful things that we do in those loving relationships. Now, we have to be mindful of our personal boundaries, like in terms of, I can't become dysfunctional myself. Like, I have to keep my balance. I'm best for my family when I show up whole. Now, that doesn't mean injured. I mean whole, like with having that peace where my hands are doing what my heart and mind feel and think. And that alignment is crucial. So that's what we keep pushing for. And it's pretty easy if we look at the difficulties of life, or let's just take poverty. People that are facing financial burdens are actually a wonderful blessing to society, in that they bring a need that tickles our love our neighbor. So if it's my sworn enemy, let's just say a person is my sworn enemy, but I see their child sick, I'm going to move past how I feel, and I'm going to feed them. I'm going to say I would feed my sworn enemy if I saw them, but it's easy to understand through their child. But even if I did not like this person whatsoever, if I saw them starving, I'd want to help them. And there's something about that. So like people that are financially are enduring financial hardships, they're like a blessing for us. But if we see it and say, no, poverty's bad, we should never have it. Look at how many people live at or below the poverty line that are happy. They have a simple life, and they don't have a lot of confusion. They don't have friends that are trying to take from them because they have nothing to take. And they just have a different kind of experience in life. But just not having a lot of money does not equal an unhappy life. But people have reframed it that way. But it's just not true. So if we can see someone struggle as an opportunity to rise to the challenge, or we can see like the same thing with illness, that, hey, we are all going to die, and it's going to hurt, and there's going to be people that are sad when their loved ones go. But what brings together a family like somebody struggling? You hear stories all the time around how a family was kind of disenfranchised, and then somebody in that family got sick, and then everybody showed up at the hospital. So again, these things that we maybe deem as not being very good often lead to beautiful results. And so I'm grateful that we have them.
Great.
Anything?
No.
Other questions?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we should kind of just no more reading of these. Just kind of like talking about like we can convince ourselves that we're busy.
Yeah.
And we can convince ourselves that we've accomplished a lot.
Yep.
And we can convince ourselves of anything. Like there's so many movies out there. I remember watching one where somebody was in it was just a story, but it was about being in a concentration camp and turn it into this whole other thing. And it's just like what the human mind is capable of to cope with difficult times.
Yeah.
It's amazing what the mind can do. And so having the ability to live in an alternate reality can be really helpful in a moment or in a situation to get through it. But to create this illusion of productivity within a team in where it's not this life or death stuff, where it's really like, hey, we have this shared mission and we have to work towards it. It actually can create a lot of destruction within the team and sever those relationships. So kind of like I have this statement, like nobody's more proud, like we'll say the name Paul. Nobody's more proud of Paul than Paul, right? Nobody's more proud of Paul than Paul. They've maybe convinced themselves that they're hyper productive when they're not, that they're making this huge difference that they're not, and that's something that really is to the detriment of that person because the team will disengage from them. They will not look at them as a trusted resource. They will not look at them as a trusted teammate because of the story they tell themselves. They're just not dealing in that reality. And again, clarity is a little bit complicated, and bringing context to something. At the end of the day, let's simplify. Let's just get to the facts of the matter. And then when we put the facts on the table, the illusion that they're telling themselves is very inaccurate. And someone's got to come to terms with that.
Yeah.
And again, this is where it can look harsh.
And we're on the next one?
Yeah. Anything going on, Frank, from the...
Kind of a little off topic, but like maybe kind of plays to this, but like, someone here asked, what's the hardest part of being an entrepreneur when trying to balance business or the personal life when you're growing a company? What's more important?
I don't, so each situation's different. What's more important, the business or the family? I don't know how you could pick the business over people. I don't know how you can do that. My loved ones are going to be a priority, and I started the business to help me and my loved ones, or the idea that the business is going to win. Now, in situations, I can temporarily put a heavier focus on the business because that's what it requires, but it's up to me to kind of work through and get the right infrastructure in place. And I could do it guilt-free when I have a plan out of it. Now, if I just sacrifice my family time all the time for the business time without any path out of it, it's easy for other things to come in, like guilt of not being present as a parent. We don't talk about this much. People don't talk about the consequences of the grind movement. They might say, hey, I'm not there as a parent, and that's just one of the sacrifices for our family. And in fact, I was listening to someone's podcast. I have a friend that's got his own podcast, and he had a guest on, and that guy was just like, hey, my family, my wife knows, she just takes care of everything. I'm doing this and doing that. And he said it with such conviction, that I'm sure he convinced a lot of people it was true. But the idea that you divide to conquer, right? Like our family's gonna divide and then we're gonna conquer whatever challenges come our way. I think it's a little naive. And I think that it's off track. I think families would be a lot better off if the priorities of that family were clear. And so now in a moment or during a period of time, great. But the idea that my kids are better off not having more time with me is ludicrous. It's ludicrous. Who loves them more? So if you look at the parents, usually the mom and the dad love the children the most. The idea that me being away from my kids is going to be better for them because I'm going to go collect more dollars, I just don't think that that's exactly true. In a moment for a period of time, yes. With a clear plan out of it, like I have to do this for the next 2 weeks, month. And then when that month comes up, guys, I'm still stuck here. I'm working to get rid of that. They can see the struggle and understand that struggle is for an outcome and it's temporary in nature. But if that just becomes the default, that's wildly destructive. And we don't talk about the guilt that someone feels. And when they're not present and their wife accommodates in that way. So let's just say that wife accommodated, like with this guy, she accommodates and makes all that stuff possible. what about that guy's guilt? Eventually it's going to kick in like, hey, I missed all these things. I wasn't present. Is that man better off carrying around that guilt? And I'm going to say, no, I don't believe so. And there's a way to not carry that guilt, and that's to intentionally be present at things. It's to intentionally get rid of some of the distractions. And so, again, when we don't accomplish things, if you're a high achiever, you usually are hyper aware of things. And to feel, and never articulate, but to feel like you haven't been a present father is a load to carry, and it can impact a lot of decisions, and it starts to break down that person. So again, I'd say, don't put your business and your family at odds with one another. One is meant to help the other, and it's the business is meant to help the family.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, so much comes down to communication for me. When I think about it, it's like, because we all know people, right? Like, I've got friends, I mean, I'm older now, that were on the road. I mean, stuff I would never want to do. On the road. I mean, I have a buddy of mine, a couple of them actually, they were on the road literally all week. They'd go wherever the destination, come home on the weekends, go. And you look at that, but their communication and their the way that they lead their family, like, it's incredible how cohesive and together. It's like you would never guess, like, this guy was almost never there. I mean, you can see that in different professions where it's just kind of necessary. And I think that really has to do with, if you're the head of a company or the head of a household, that communication and bringing people together, I think it can work, in a lot of instances. It's when there's no communication, it's like, I got to go because we have bills or whatever. And then there's dysfunction there. But, when you have like, okay, here's, if you've got a significant other, it's like, here's where we're going. Here's what we want our life to look like. Sometimes it's just is a necessary beast, and I've seen it done. Because what happens is maybe we don't make that sacrifice, right? Because I want to be present all the time, or I'm going to be missing some stuff. But then it comes down to like college, and now I don't have enough money. There's things where, like, as long as everybody, I don't necessarily know how they do it, because my life has been different the way that, I've had, not a ton of travel and all that. But I mean, I know so many people that would say they were in the grind culture, and it worked out incredibly well. Like, their families aren't amazing, So it's one of those things where it's interesting that sometimes that works very well, and sometimes it just doesn't. And I wonder if it wouldn't.
Well, here, because you're putting a big pile together. It's like a lot of things to go through. Well, what you're calling communication is like, it's one thing to say it, but just because you said it doesn't mean it lands, right? And that's kind of what we're talking about here, is that more words don't necessarily make it more clear. Right. What we're talking about is accountability. And so if we look at someone that does not travel, for example, even if he doesn't travel, how much time is that person actually spending with their kids? Right. And you don't hear me saying that, hey, someone has to be present all the time for the kid to be in the best shape. I don't think so. You want the tension. You want people to miss things. You want there to be this piece that says, in a situation, I need the flexibility to decide what's most important in that moment. If I'm an auto reply that I must show up to every baseball event, for example, like that's an auto reply. That's not a thoughtful reply. And there's situations where that's not ideal. And then someone that does not travel does not mean necessarily that they're present at home either. And if they're always working on the computer in the other room and not really present with the kids, that could be destructive. For sure. So we're not talking about that. And that's where it's like, I didn't want you to go too far into that, because it's like being accountable. Do you feel good about what you're doing as a father? It's a you question. It's a yes or no. And when you do, then you have peace with that item, because you are giving enough there where you feel that you're present enough. So I feel present enough with my kids, even if I don't talk to them for a few days. When I'm there, I spend that time, but I don't make this like I'm hovering over them and they can't function and operate and do things without the interaction with me. So it's accountability to what I believe is good. Now, in a relationship, it's accountability to what that relationship has defined. Like, my responsibilities are to love you, love the kids, provide, protect, do all these different things. How do I feel about the way that I'm accomplishing those? And then if for the spouse, if the spouse and if the two spouses have a different definition of that, that's where they need to discuss and align. right? Now they discuss and align.
Right.
And then from that piece is like, hey, we're on the same team. We understand the shared mission, and we're going to use our strengths in this shared mission. I do not have a lot of time, but you do have a lot of time. I want to make sure that I'm intentional about the way I spend time with the kids. I want to make sure that I have them in one-on-one time. I want to make sure I have them in a group. I want us to all be together. There's these different things that I want to do. I have 3 daughters and 1 son. I definitely interact with the daughters very similarly to each other, but then uniquely based on them. But then my son has some similarities, but there's other things that are just him because he's a boy. And I'm looking to teach him different things. And I talk to him, like I don't talk to my daughters about hitting one another. But my son, I let him know that, hey, sometimes your sister's going to hit you, and I don't want you to hit back. And I want you to learn this lesson that sometimes you take the blow and you're not able to respond. I want you to learn this discipline, even though it sounds like it's unfair. Look at how much stronger you are. And and I kind of go through things and I let them fight. I let my kids fight. I say, I love that my kids fight because they learn how to resolve conflict. I just don't like listening to it. I like that they do it, but I don't like listening to it. So it's just kind of being accountable to like, I want my kids to learn certain things. That means I can't interfere. Sometimes I need to let scenarios play out. Just because the family is proximate to each other doesn't mean that they're actually spending time together. And just because you're at the game doesn't mean that you're actually paying attention. My kids, when I see them at their plays and different things, what always happens for me, I look around, I see a lot of parents are on their phone or whatever. My kids are always looking at me, and then they'll do little waves, like and then when they don't know where I'm sitting, I could see them scanning the room, then they spot me, and then they're regularly looking for me to be looking at them and noticing them and giving them little waves or blowing kisses at them, whatever the case is. So again, I just think it goes back to being accountable to this shared mission, that this is our family, this is what we're going to do, and then not operating in a way that would make me have a lot of regrets around parenthood, around being a spouse, around being a family man, around what I'm trying to do with business.
Interesting. Okay.
We've got a question here from Sora. What life challenges, John, may you be facing right now?
I've been battling through this piece that's, I've got some loved ones that like to complain a lot, and they don't have the best situation. They really don't. They don't have the best situation, and they struggle with that. And what I'm trying to do is to not let those folks that I love drain my energy, and it's not so easy for me. And so I try to establish a boundary. And then it feels like to other people that see it, like, oh, John, what's the big deal? And why do you do that? And, this person's suffering or whatever. And I understand it. But I have so many things going on, like with my own family. And to let this other person drain, or these other people drain my energy, and then me not be so present with mine, that was something that I had to learn, and I'm still trying to perfect. So just because I can listen and endure it, doesn't mean I should. And how do I not participate in those kinds of things so that I'm more present? And so I established this kind of boundary. And remember, a boundary is a change of behavior in me, not a change of behavior in the other. A boundary helps you self-regulate. And so my statement was that I'm not going to interact with this person about their complaints unless they go and get professional assistance in building the coping skills that they need. And if they don't go and get those coping skills that they need to endure their life, like if they don't build those skills, I don't want to interact on these topics. And so, oh, John, you're labeling. No, I'm not labeling. I didn't say that they have problems. I'm saying that they clearly don't have the skills that they need to cope with their life. And their way of doing it is by complaining to others and just keep venting to others. I'm going to break that cycle. I'm going to break that pattern, not allow it to cause this dysfunction within my life. And it actually encourages the person, if they were able to cope better, they would be better. Their relationships would be better. Their interactions with people would be better. It would be this step, towards improving. But this is one that is very hard for me because it's been very hard for me. I believe part of it is because I've had so many family members play an important role in my upbringing. My mom's siblings really pitched in to help raise me and my siblings, and my grandmother and my grandmother's children really just were fantastic. And kind of going through that, I developed this real love and appreciation for other people, and to say, hey, if someone's in a tough spot, help them. And this piece for me led to a lot of self-erasure. So I hope I'm explaining it thoroughly enough that I've struggled mightily with this kind of guilt that I have to listen and participate and provide. And the truth is I don't. And so I've stopped going along to get along in that way. And it's been disruptive to a handful of people, but I feel really good and confident about it. It's just a new habit to build.
Okay, kind of a follow-up from Taoism. How do you balance your energy between the family and work?
So I don't look at family and work to be something I need to balance. Like I don't go through like work-life balance. It's more around, am I comfortable in what I'm doing? Like, how do I feel about what I'm doing? And so I look at what drains my energy. And it's a lot of it's draining energy, draining time, and draining trust. So I look at those items and then say, whatever what gives me the energy in those areas and what drains it in those areas, by being able to articulate it, I'm working actively towards creating more and reducing less. And so those things are used along the lines of my priorities. So whatever my priorities are, mine are related to my family, my business, and other growth, personal growth, accomplishments, things I'd like to do, kind of like a bucket list of things I'd like to do. One of them is I want to create the world's greatest chocolate chip cookie, because I believe the world needs better cookies, and I love cookies.
But you haven't shared with any of us
yet. No, not yet. But I have some great, but I do like make these things that taste really good, and I'd like to produce that. Now, it's not because that makes this meaningful contribution to society. So it's not just about making more money or spending more time with family. That's like a to John from John thing, like just something that I want to do for myself. And so I look at this of saying, how do I protect? The biggest drain for me is tied to relationship, right? So trust. If someone violates that trust, when people violate it, that's what kind of is very taxing on time, energy, everything else. So I look at it from that way. I don't try to balance work life. I try to stay balanced as John. And then there's times where my work is my priority, a heavier priority. There's times where my faith is a higher priority. There's times where my health is a higher priority. My business is a higher priority. My children, whatever the case is, it fluctuates based on where I'm at and what I'm concentrating on at that time.
Great. Awesome.
All right.
So,
someone asked, will you share your cookie recipe?
yes. Multiple size chips is the key, like minis and then like morsels and then chunks. And I like to have the chunks be dark. And one other thing is I instead of using all light brown sugar that most recipes call for, I split it half light brown sugar, half dark brown sugar. And then if you chill the dough before you cook it, it helps as well.
So
Salt never hurt anybody.
Next live, people want some, so do we.
Yeah, all right. Love it. And I love the cookies.
You might want to just talk about, we might be doing some cooking with
Yeah, so we have this cooking class at my house. It's not really a cooking class. Well, it is because we teach people how to make things, but I just love the name of it to aggravate my family, and it's called Cooking with Class, Cooking Class, and I put in the class, right? So I'm the class. There's a word for butt, and it's culo. But often we say coolie. So I put the cool in coolie, or anything to mess with. My Wi-Fi password is often John is cool. Like, so I do a lot of things to aggravate my family, but that's just part of me being me.
All right, let's talk about when you have like too many priorities, right? So too many priorities and constant urgency, right? So like, what should you stop doing before you decide what to do next when you're dealing with an arsenal of what seems like overwhelming priorities?
I believe it's really important to have a to-don't list. So whatever you're good at, whatever you love doing, whatever gives you, at this conference or this engagement over the weekend that I was at, where I was speaking with individuals that are part of a panel, one of the things that came up was around somebody was sharing, hey, if you, and the example he had given was that he was primarily responsible for sales, and he was only putting 25% of his time in on the sales, and the other 75% he was doing on administrative stuff. And so he kind of shared that example for the group, and it was a really powerful message around, hey, it's a signal if you're not really spending a lot of time on the things that you do that make this meaningful difference, you know, that like you might have some things to change. The way that I looked at it, the piece that I added to that was that not to look at work as, if the work needs to be done. So let's just say that those tasks that he was doing need to be done. Then let's not look at them as being meaningless because they're mandatory, right? And so how do I look at that item and the person I give it to? So if I just say, hey, all these things, they don't really make a difference, I'm not going to work on them, they're kind of a waste of my time. Let me go give somebody else all these wastes of my time. It's not, I might not be looking at that person with the right frame of mind, right? A lot of times people attach, like, what is it that you do? And then they rate you. So I get, hey, John, what do you do for a living? I used to tell people I'm a painter, right? And then they would, you know, a lot of times they would look down on me because they were like valuing me based on what I did for a living. But I don't have to explain myself to them, right? I didn't say, hey, I do painting all over the U.S., Canada. Like it's an international painting company. I didn't say that, right? I'm a painter, right? Because they don't need to know that, but they categorize you. And so in that piece, it's like a lot of times folks get categorized based on what they do. And so what I was saying is that, hey, if you're going to look to remove tasks and give them to someone else, do not do it by thumbing your nose at them. Like you can't look down on it, and rather, it's like I'm turning it over to someone that will do it better, faster, and or cheaper. Taking it off of my plate certainly makes it less expensive. If people could do it at a similar speed, even a little bit slower than me, might still be more economical than me doing it. So better, faster, or cheaper. So that if I can look at that and say, hey, I'm delegating this to a person and they're doing it better, faster, and or cheaper than we used to do it, I could see that person in a positive light, not as a collector of meaningless tasks. And this is around how you build a healthy team. Seeing everything that's mandatory to be done as being necessary. If it's necessary, we're going to value it. Now, I'm an optimizer at heart, so I'm looking for anything that's wasteful, and I want to get rid of those. And so I'm like, hey, we don't need to do this. This can be simplified, all of that. But when I give someone a responsibility, I want to do it with respect.
Great. Just a little time check. We're at 1:20.
Okay.
An hour and 20.
I think we're going to be 2 hours today.
Okay. Question here. I don't know if you want to say this towards the end, but someone's asking. His name is King of Retro. He's building a YouTube channel. Okay. And he had questions on how we grew ours. Any advice you could give him?
Sure.
Just repeat the question, the answer.
If you'd like to, so a question just came in around building a channel. And I know we're going to spend more time talking about that. We've got some videos on it. But just to answer it here, know your audience and really understand what your audience wants and what you can deliver to them and what they would want to receive from you. So I have a lot of subscribers. It doesn't mean they want me showing them socks to buy, right? Hey, you can buy this sock or that sock. Like they're not looking for me to pitch that kind of stuff. So if you could stay on point with your message, you'll gain the right following. And then in gaining the right following, just kind of continue to stay true to that. And so for me, it's around authenticity. That by continuously just saying things that in the manner that I believe, in the manner that I do, there's a continuity to this authenticity, right? That I'm just going to be me, and whatever I share is what I believe. And if I make a mistake, then I can correct and move forward. But I don't feel this burden to present a certain way. And so it might seem like a little nuanced item, but pretending to be somebody else and kind of playing that image, that's for like TV shows that we all know are fake. But for this, in what we're doing, I would just, unless you're making a fake, a TV show that's scripted and all that, but if you're trying to build a channel that's this way, know your audience, love the audience, like think about what could be helpful to them and keep bringing them that information authentically, and you'll gain the right people. If you're trying to get more and more subscribers and your objective is to get more subscribers, I think you're tilted in the wrong direction. Subscriber growth is a signal that your message is resonating. But if you do it for them, then be careful that you're not just being like a performer. So stick to what you believe to be good and true, and share those things, and you can find the appropriate size audience.
Any tactical advice, like frequency, consistency, quantity, all that kind of stuff?
My objective in the beginning was to build a channel worth following. So I overloaded it with videos and went against everybody's conventional wisdom. I didn't think that somebody would want to subscribe to a channel with 10 videos. So I overloaded it. I overposted. I cannibalized views. I confused the algorithm, and I didn't care. Some of the early subscribers left right away because it was just inundating. So those that kept notifications on, it kept blowing up their phone, and they got rid of me. That's just the way that it is, right? But I wanted to build a channel that was worth following and subscribing to. And I thought that, hey, if I'm going to be speaking to high achievers, they're going to want some deeper dives on topics. So I created a playlist accordingly. But the quips, just like the statement, like, hey, your raise becomes effective when you do. It's just timeless, right? And being able to share something that has tension, that's in a quip format that leaves them to be thinking about things more, and then putting in a playlist that's bingeable. They can just like click on the insights I wish I knew, quick insights I wish I knew, and you hit play, and you can just hear one after the other after the other. I thought that would be a great way to present information to them. So just again, I would make sure your channel's worth following. I would build my playlist in a way that the videos are bingeable, and I would just keep trying to deliver value. If you're looking to gain subscribers, I would share my video. So go into the video, click on the share, copy that link, and text it to someone saying, hey, I just posted this video, check it out, whatever. But if you can say, hey, when I was saying this and reflecting on this, I thought about you, and I thought about you for these reasons or whatever. What you're doing is getting somebody to come into YouTube, which YouTube rewards, but also you're warming the person up to watch the whole video. And as these numbers come in, and YouTube sees that, hey, this video brought people into the platform, and then they stayed and watched the video, that's a signal that that's a good video. And if we get more and more shares, that's the path to a video really blowing up and driving the growth of a channel. For me, I like to say things that people say, wow, that's me, and they click on the thumbs up. But what I really love to do is say, wow, a loved one needs to hear this, I'm going to share it with them. And so that creating that kind of tension is great, and that's what really fueled the growth of my channel.
Yeah, and I would just add that it's different for all types of content. So like you said, the entertainment versus informational, life transformation type of stuff that we do, versus a faceless channel that's just about reposting other videos. So it's different strategies for what you're trying to produce.
Right, it's your objective, but everything centers on what's your audience. So if they're coming to you for entertainment, then you're entertaining. If they're coming to you for information or insights, then provide it. There was a channel that I looked at recently where a friend said, "Hey, this is my buddy. He's got a channel. He's looking to grow it." So I started paying attention to it, and when I went and looked at their channel, I did. Ordinarily, when we go to a channel, like we see a video, we watch it, we click on their channel, we look at their videos or shorts, we sort by most popular to see which ones really took off for them, and we kind of do this little bit of a review, but quickly to say whether or not we wanted to watch more and or subscribe. Well, when I read the description of his channel, and then I went and looked at his playlist, and then I watched his videos, I saw that it was not all aligned. They said that they were doing something for this group, but really what they were doing was something different. And so then I gave that kind of feedback and said, hey, you look like you're actually promoting your guests, and like you're a marketing firm that's promoting your guests. And in doing so, which is fine, in doing so, if you want to keep doing this format because it's a lot of fun for you, people like it, start pulling the quips out of there as shorts that are lessons that align with what your overarching message was. So they wanted to help entrepreneurs. We'll go pull the funny statements because a lot of their discussions had humor. Grab those pieces, put it into a playlist that were funny, like funny insights from. And then also, instead of always having a guest, if you really did want to help entrepreneurs, go up and just shoot on a topic that would be helpful to entrepreneurs mixed in with the typical podcast. So the solo cast, in addition to the podcast, in addition to these playlists, would be really helpful to that group, I believe. And so I shared that feedback, and they went back and they did that. And so I'm eager to see how that plays out for them. But it's really like dialing it in, making it easier for their audience to love their channel.
Okay, great.
All right, so we get back to...
Yeah, I wanted to touch on this real quick while we're on this overwhelm frustration. Some of these counterintuitive points. Just
you just give a recap of what we're talking about.
Yeah, so we're talking about clarity today, right? As a people don't lack clarity; they lack permission. So we're trying to dial in how to get clear on where you're going and kind of some of the distractions that disrupt that.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
The title of the paradox is that clarity is complicated. And that,
And it is. I mean,
and people tend to think, well, let me give you more information, which only makes it more complicated.
Right.
So sometimes you just say, like, I'm not going to work with you.
Yeah.
And that statement, right?
Right.
I'm not going to work with you because you're this, that. And now we're debating the item.
Yeah.
But if I just say I'm not doing this, will that boundary be respected and things? And so when we talk about that clarity is complicated, it's really this pushback towards, hey, traditional methods of over-explaining or giving more information and all that is not necessarily the right path. Sometimes it is, but oftentimes it's not. And so, we have permission to not have to over-explain. Bringing in more and more words actually can destabilize the situation. And so, we're examining this from a little bit different lens today, that we're going through and talking about it not instructionally, but rather through frustration, because it's that frustration that drains energy, time, resources, and everything. And if we can talk about it in that manner, a lot of good insights will come out of this for the audience to say, hey, maybe I have to look at this piece a little bit differently.
Yeah, some of these, I just want to share some counterintuitive points with you and see what you think here, right? So, and we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but more options feel empowering, but actually weaken clarity.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think people think more options? Like it seems, I don't know if it's, like I never like more options.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I actually like having a lot of options. And then reducing, like have a competition between those.
Sure.
And then you get the finalist. So with my kids, ever since my eldest, I would take her, she loved to read. And so then all of my subsequent kids love to read as well. So this has been something that I developed, and it was called 10-5-3. So I would take her to the bookstore, and there's thousands of books in the bookstore. So I'd say, okay, Isabel, you get to pick 10 books.
Right.
And let's just call those good books, right? And then from there, she'd get them all laid out on the table. And then from there, she had to reduce it down to 5. So pick the 5, better books up here. And then in the end, she'd have to pick 3 books, and I would buy her 3 books. And there were certain, like a certain type of book. So one had to be like a biography or something in history. Another one had to be a fun book.
Okay.
Right. And another, there had to be something that was learning, something that was fun, and something that was historical. Those 3 different options. And then she'd have to explain to me why she picked the books that she did. And so this little girl would come back with these things that said, well, Dad, I still have that fact book that I haven't read yet. So I want to get 2 fun books this time. And she would do things like that. And then we would discuss it. Okay, it sounds like we have to spend some time on some of these other books, and it was great. But the idea is that if you could pick any book there, and just think like, wow, there's all these books, you only get to pick one.
Yeah.
It can feel overwhelming. But if you say, hey, I get 10, let me just grab 10.
Yep.
Let me grab different concepts, different types. Let me put them down and let me have this competition between them. Then I'm able to think about what have I read?
Right.
What do I have at home that's left unread that I can still read? What is it that I'm interested in? All of those things, and then make the best decision possible there. And so I believe that's a lot like life.
Mm-hmm.
And the better your option B is, the stronger your option A is. This isn't like negotiation. Let's call it 801.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't 101. Like, it's advanced negotiation is to continuously strengthen your second best option. Because if your best option beats a super strong second best option, it's outstanding.
Yeah.
And even if you don't pick the best one, let's say you make a mistake, right? And like my daughter, these were the 10, best books out of 10. But when we reduce it to 5, maybe one got strained in there that wasn't very good. And then down to 3, what's the worst is that it was a good book.
Sure.
Right? It wasn't that it was going to be because of the competition. So the competition of ideas causes like the survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
Well, when you have too many priorities, it's easy to confuse your team. Mm-hmm. So if you're leading the team, like have less areas of focus. But if it's, we're going to do this, 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 we're going to do like, when I'm forced to pick one, what do I pick?
Right.
So the same thing with rules for me, less rules, but enforce the heck out of them. Mm-hmm. Less priorities, but make sure you're dialed into them. And I believe that leads to less confusion.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, prioritizing, right? I mean, it's kind of the where that leads to when you've got a lot of initiatives, and when you're starting a business or whatever, you can really extrapolate out on things. Very few people have the patience or the wherewithal to think in 3 or 5 year increments. You know what I mean? It's like they want to just kind of really flood that up. Like everything is urgent. Everything's urgent. And then before you know it, everyone's just kind of like, wait. But if you really take it in terms of what would this look like? It was really, what does excellence look like? Mm-hmm. And what would we do today if you had to make this, amazing, but you had, a longer period of time? For me, sometimes that helps me just kind of go, okay, let's get this right.
Sure.
As opposed to like looking at, because when you do throw too many things, doesn't matter, you're an entrepreneur, you're an employee, whatever the case may be, you do start to scramble. Like your brain can only focus on so many things at once.
If we think about boundaries and we think about people and we think about the business, like, well, let's put those things kind of like all together. It's a lot easier to say yes to something. Mm-hmm. If someone has an idea and let's go with it. Mm-hmm. That's easier. It feels good, all of that.
Right.
It's harder to say no. So if we could just have a position that the answer is no, mm-hmm. unless you can convince me of it to be a yes, it filters out a lot. That's a tool or a tactic that a lot of people use. Because it's a no until you make it a yes, right? Until you convince me to change it. And that forces ongoing thought, review, kind of testing. Hey, he's going to say no, so I have to make this compelling and, whatever. So I don't necessarily subscribe to that. That's not, a lot of people aren't coming to me with ideas. We kind of talk about it more through a pattern of innovation. Mm-hmm. So.
Got a question here.
Here the peanuts cracking open.
Okay, so Sharon asked, what advice would you give to someone who feels guilt-tripped when they don't over-explain and feels the need to over-explain all the time?
Who's in charge of a discussion is typically the person asking the questions. A lot of people who are in charge answer questions. But if you want to maintain the authority, you really have to be the one asking the question, right? So just think about that. Who's in charge? Hey, where's this report? Mm-hmm. Well, I've been working on it, whatever the case is. So in thinking about that, so one is we want to understand that questions, what type of questions are being asked, often shows where someone's at. Can you repeat the question?
So what advice would you give to someone who feels guilt-tripped when they don't over-explain?
So feels guilt-tripped tells me that they're saying that someone else is guilt-tripping them. And so one thing that's fundamental, but to me, is that I'm not going to let somebody guilt-trip me. in that way. Just because someone says something offensive doesn't mean that I need to be offended. Just because you say something offensive doesn't mean that I need to be offended. That's a choice for me. But if they are trying to guilt trip me, and let's say that they're not sinister, sometimes they just don't understand. They want to know they're acting within what their limits are. If I'm the authority and I want that done and they feel uncomfortable with it, maybe I put the wrong person in, or maybe I've underexplained. I just like having that spot that says, hey, if you don't understand this and you need to know more, ask me, right? And then I get to decide, hey, I'm going to do it. But much like that captain of that ship, earlier we were talking about the captain of a ship. When they give instruction, they want it followed. And if they don't, like, people's lives can be at risk. And so, hit the deck, the guy hits the deck and the boom swings by and it would have, knocked him off the boat. Like, it's important that we know the situation that we're dealing with. If the person is not going to do what you've asked them to do, and it's their responsibility to do what you've asked them to do, that might be exposing more of an underlying issue that needs to be addressed. But you can try to guilt trip me. I think anybody that's in charge has to become really strong at being able to like read a comment and disregard the comment, or read it, see it, and not have to let it influence them. So again, I want to just say, just because someone does something offensive doesn't mean that you need to be offended. If you're going to be in charge, I'm a man, so I say, hey, if you're going to be in charge, you need to wear a helmet and a cup, because they're going to try to do a lot of damage to you. So hopefully that helps you.
Yeah, I think some of that, like, I know, to me, like, it's I keep beating a dead horse here with the human element of it, but are there times when people are like in that situation where it might be an opportunity for this individual, what was her name?
Scene.
Okay.
To like be self-reflective. Maybe Scene isn't being clear.
No, right. That's why I said that's up to her.
Right.
So one is to not have to interpret it a way that someone's doing it.
Right.
I can absorb
that
you're trying to guilt trip me, and not have to say you're trying to guilt trip me.
Right.
I don't have to say that.
Right.
I can just say, I can redirect it.
Right.
And that's what I do, is I try to reframe the item.
Yeah.
Hey, we're not going to get into finger pointing here. Right. What we got to do is make sure that we get this done by Tuesday.
Yeah,
right. This is what's here.
Right.
So. What is the challenge? And the problem is, a lot of people don't know what the real obstacle is. Like when they're afraid, they're say whatever, they do whatever. It's, especially if it's tied to their identity, which is a big problem that people don't talk about enough. But if you can get down to the root item, a lot of times it's just around helping that person build their confidence. So they don't need to be sold on it. They just need a little bit of practice. They need to know that you're there in their corner, that you can role play through it. So role playing is a great one for me. If someone needs something explained, I create it as hey, okay, we have to call this university and discuss these items. Okay, let's role play. Do you want me to be the university, or you want me to be you? Okay, pick on the role and just explain it and kind of go through it. And then after that, reflect on it, discuss it, and then make sure that we're on the same page. So I'm just trying to say that it's not that we should not explain, it's that we should not over-explain as a general rule of thumb. In doing so, we look like we're actually trying to persuade the people. And now if I have to sell you on my idea before we implement it, we don't just implement my idea, I have to sell you on it, and I have to persuade you on it. I've disrupted me, being the one in charge, I've disrupted the normal cycle of things, and I need to make to take steps to change that. And so that's what I'm trying to share here on that point.
Cool. All right, let's go to this next one, right? So push back despite explanation. So when does explaining more actually make clarity worse? That's an interesting one.
Kind of piggybacks on what we were just talking about. Like, if I have to keep explaining to sell you on it, if I have to convince you to do it, like, I'm going to say, then you're not the right person.
Yeah.
But John, I just need it. No.
Right.
Like if you're trying to, so let's say I gave you something to do.
Yeah.
Let's just say I gave you something to do, and you say that you're all in.
Yep.
And I believe you.
Yep.
I'm all in, John. I'm going to get this done, and I'm capable of doing it. And then you don't do it, right? And then you say, hey, well, I need this explanation. Explain it. Great. I give you the explanation. And then the person still doesn't do it.
Yeah.
What does that look like to you, right?
Yeah.
to me, it's I've given the responsibility to the wrong person.
Yeah.
So like I'm going to look at that and say, now if I have to explain it again, what I'm doing is I'm saying that, hey, it's okay that you didn't take action because you didn't fully understand it.
Right.
And that's the dynamic I'm looking to break.
Right.
It's up to you because you told me you're all in. I believed you. You said that you're capable.
Yep.
I believed you. And then you didn't do. And then you're going to blame on not having enough information to do.
Right.
It's up to you then to say, hey, John, I'm all in.
Yep.
I can do this. I don't understand this element. Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
The burden is on you to ask me for the clarifications. But if I have to tell you, you tell me you're in, I give it to you, I believe you understand it, you're all in, you're going to do it, you're capable, then you don't do it and you come back and say, well, I have all these questions.
Yeah.
Well, why didn't you raise a flag? You knew you had the responsibility, you knew those things. So it doesn't follow an organized pattern of thought.
Yeah.
So the hands, the heart, and the mind are not working together. They have this illusion of alignment of all three, but their hands aren't working in it. They tell themselves that they're doing a lot, but they're not. It's just that their mind is there, their heart is there, but for some reason their hands aren't.
Yeah.
And so when a person doesn't self-identify that and raise the questions to get the clarity to do, that's a signal to me that the person's a little bit fearful of it. And then you want to address it. But my idea here is that if somebody's resisting it, you have to expose it so you can establish the right pattern. I need someone to say, man, I got so many other things going on outside of this place, and it's taking me away from doing this, and I feel like garbage. Okay, great. I already got something we can work with because it's honest, it's forthright, it's acknowledging that we're not accomplishing what we're setting out to accomplish. All of that stuff is clear. Now that we're dealing with the reality, how can we move forward? Hey, you don't have to do this. I'm going to cover that. Go ahead and take care of those things. I'm going to do this other piece, and we're going to get through it. That's like part about being a great teammate. But that often goes that gets ignored or understood, like not understood at the level that it needs to be. And so again, I think that when you give somebody a voice to kind of justify why they didn't do what they were supposed to do, you end up getting a lot of justifications, and that destroys the team.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important point, everybody. Are your actions justified, or are you justifying your actions, right? And a lot of times people who underperform are justifying their actions, and they're not justifiable. And it's kind of that, have you ever heard of that person needs a healthy relationship with the truth, right?
Oh, I've heard
that person needs a healthy relationship with the truth, and maybe they don't have one right now.
Yeah.
It's kind of like bringing that reality back to things. So I think that's important.
Yeah. All right. What else you guys want to touch on?
Yeah. Any questions from the group? I hope everyone's enjoying this because it really is a topic that is so nuanced and overlooked, right? Clarity being complicated. It takes a lot of time to understand something thoroughly. It takes a lot of time it takes intentionality to realize that we are part of a structure that's a hierarchy. Someone is paying us. They have expectations. We've signed up for those. And if we start deviating from that structure and forgetting that order, a lot of other chaos gets brought in. And so there's a responsibility. A lot of people don't like order.
Yeah.
They don't like that accountability, but it does not promote a success. It actually promotes confusion.
Yeah.
And when people do things that go in the direction of creating confusion within your team, even if they're an outstanding performer, eventually their days are numbered.
Yeah, I think that's so true. Like anytime you have anybody that makes it, just is not able to kind of push through, even if it's a challenge, I think you're right. It's probably not the right fit. Yeah.
Well, so were there any questions, or should we jump into the last
Jump
slide?
into the next one, and I'm curating a couple of earlier statements.
Okay.
Do I have 5? Oh, yeah. All right. Self-doubt's frustration. So let me see. I keep revisiting decisions even after a minute. So what does clarity require from you that reassurance never will? What does clarity require from you that reassurance never will?
I think the the item for me in that is that action, when someone takes action, it's a great tell that they're in, they get it, they understand it, they want it, right? They have the capacity to do it. I believe that comes from someone taking action.
Yeah.
And so when someone does not take action, I had a situation once where we're talking about building this business with a couple of entrepreneurial guys that have experience in a space, and we're going over what needed to be done and putting it out there like, hey, we have to do this, and this is what it is, and all that. Yeah. But then exactly 0 tasks that were in the direction of doing that work actually were taken. And so that was an alert to me that, hey, wait a minute, they're not aligned to this. Like, they're not intrinsically motivated, but their words were, yes, I'm all in. I love this. This is going to do this and do that. And there was all these little simple action steps, but none of them were taken. And it told me that this person wasn't interested. And then when I raised the flag and said, hey, it seems like you're not interested. No, I am. Again, no activity done in it. Then I'm like, okay, I can't trust what you're telling me. You tell me one thing and you mean another, and I don't want to decipher that. And that piece, because what happens is this whole idea about clarity is complicated. When I solve a challenge, I'm a problem solver. That's my position.
Yeah.
I receive it, I solve it. I give it to somebody, this is what we need to do. It's not a suggestion, this is what we need to do. I'm expecting it to be done. The person doesn't do it. Brings me back to the same problem, only it's more complicated now because more damage has been done and we have less time left.
Right.
And now I got to resolve it.
Yeah.
Right. We're talking about clarity is complicated and the frustrations that it causes to teams.
Yeah.
Right. And when you're working within a team, if the leader says something that they need done and then the team doesn't do it, and like them treating it like it's a suggestion, not a task, puts them in a spot of having to resolve the issues again and again.
Yeah.
And that's wildly frustrating.
Brutal.
That's a very fast way to losing, becoming irrelevant on the team. Like, I'm just not going to give that person something anymore.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And I'm going to create a story in my mind.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be that it's just not good and healthy for me to work with that person.
No, it's terrible. I mean, a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
understandable.
Yeah, I mean, crazy nightmare.
We have a question around this topic. Intentions versus actions. What if they thinking they can accomplish the task versus they're trying to but not be able to execute for whatever reason?
Run that might be good.
So intention versus action. What if they're thinking they can tackle a task?
Yeah.
They're trying it, but they're not able to actually execute it. So the difference there is, yeah, I could do this versus, yeah, I think I can.
Interesting.
And is there grace in that? And is there?
I'm very protective, very precise with words. I try to not give things to people to do that they don't believe they can. So if someone says, yeah, I think I can, I'm not interested. That's not something, if it's important, I'm not gonna give it to someone that thinks they can. Or that says it in that tone that Frank just said, that I think I can. Can you get this done on time? Yes. Okay. If they say no, then that's how they get removed, right? And then the person, maybe they don't want to say no because they're not going to get the gig.
Yeah.
Then they don't tell me the truth. Okay, now you're not telling me the truth. I'm not able to trust you. So there's this kind of push that you have to own your words. And when people don't own their words, we don't rely on them. We do not rely on them. So people can play all these different games to try to lower expectations. Well, I never really said I could do what I said I thought I could. You don't get grace from that with me. I'm like, no. We're not going down that. But you brought up the point, or the person brought up the point around intention. I can't judge someone's intentions because I don't know what they are. For me to make the assumption is what not very intelligent people do. If you're not very bright, go and try to guess what everybody's intention is and actually believe that you know what you're talking about when you're talking about it. I've had these situations where they say, oh, well, the people believe this and this is what they're thinking. Like, they're in the next room. We don't have to have you decipher for them. Let's go ask them. And then I've gone and asked those people and their answer's been different than that person. So I've had so many times where people use words that sound good and it would be generally accepted. Oh, Paul said this other thing over here. Well, I want to hear it from Paul. This is what, you don't trust me? am I able to hear it from Paul? Or that's like a rule, I'm not allowed to? I have to just take what you're saying? If I don't trust you and I want to go verify, what's the problem? Even if I do trust you, am I allowed to verify? Or did I somehow give up that right? And so this could be, the leader has to make a decision. You can see me a little bit passionate about this because the leader has to make a decision that they believe is to be right.
Yeah.
And if the people that they're asking items for are non-committal, they know that they're leaning on the wrong person. So I push for clarity on that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take third-party hearsay on something when the primary source is available to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ask. And that piece kind of keeps things honest. So, but I think what we were talking about here, like in our point, that was from the audience, was that I don't want to revisit it. Like I have this statement that's, if you don't raise a flag in a meeting and say, hey, I don't understand that, I'm going to take your silence as meaning 100% full-on support to the letter of what I've said.
Yeah.
So, and I make this announcement in meetings because people won't say anything in the meeting. Then outside of the meeting, they're talking behind the scenes, removing a bunch of support for it. Yeah, I don't know, is it really going to work? I mean, he said we got to make all these phone calls, but can we really make all these phone calls? I mean, come on.
How often does that happen to you?
Well, you got to remember, my situations aren't just mine. The situations that I face, plus all the people I advise face.
Right.
So I hear, not only do I feel them from, and field them from my own companies, I field them from other people's companies as well. And so it's common to have people not do what they need to do, and then come up with an alternate, like there's a reason. It is common. The issues that people have, how many people do you know that are outperformers? An outperformer performs much better than a typical performer and a low performer. What is it about outperformers that is special, right? And that's this determination and tenacity in accomplishing what they set out to do.
Yeah.
What's the obstacle? What's between someone's ears? Right? They've told themselves that this is wrong. They don't have an open mind. Like, what you've been doing is failing. You've been failing for the last 4 years. It just hasn't caught up. You got a loan from the government for all this money through COVID. They gave you all this working capital, but it's steadily been dropping. But because you had money in the bank, you thought that you had money. No, it's borrowed money, and it's going away very quickly. Like, that's a very real scenario for a lot of businesses. Yeah, there was an illusion that they were performing well because they had money in the bank, but it was from a loan that needed to get paid back. So I face this. I shouldn't say I face it personally. I have to deal with countless situations where people have a challenge in their business, my own or someone else's, or my own people with their team, and we go out and solve it, and then it doesn't get done because somebody kind of like dug their heels in and didn't want to adopt it, and we end up in this position because they're like shooting down the idea, they're weakening it, they're not explaining it well, like they carry the message on to a third person, but they don't give the full context. They just say their element of it, and it ends up being in a very detrimental situation for the business.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, somebody complimented you. It sounds like it all goes back to clarity and truth.
Yeah, clarity and clarity is complicated.
We're approaching 2 hours.
Okay.
At this point, so
any other questions out there?
Yeah, some more just general entrepreneurship questions. One around how do I grow an idea into a profitable business?
Oh,
kind of general, but
find a customer.
So maybe just repeat that question.
If you're looking to turn an idea into a business, find somebody willing to pay you for it. You don't do it professionally until you get paid, and if you can trade dollars for your product or service or whatever, there's a market for it.
It kind of goes back to the talk this weekend that you gave, where somebody asked, like, the question more was like revolved around like, what do I need to do for legal, accounting, and all this? Like, do they get caught up in the minutia versus tactical growth? Like, what should they be focusing on in the earlier parts of growing a business?
So the question was, what should somebody be focused on when they're getting ready to launch a business? And if they're not comfortable with the nuanced items of starting a business, like you're starting an entity, you're making a promise to another person that you're going to deliver that, they're going to pay you. There's government requirements. If we can look at that as like it's minutia, but it's necessary. So again, not to diminish it, like if you're going to open up a business, there's going to be requirements that you have to the government. If you're going to sell a product, in the U.S., there's sales tax if you're going to sell it to the consumer. In some states, if you're going to provide a service, there's a sales tax that's associated with it. So there is a responsibility there. And to go out there and ignore that opening up a business has these responsibilities, then you probably shouldn't be in business. But if you're going to look at those responsibilities and think that they're overly complicated and let that prevent you from going into business, they're really not. There's always professionals that you can hire. So it's not expensive to incorporate. It's not expensive to hire an accountant to process your books for a small business. These things there are not monster obstacles in doing that. So if you don't have the determination and passion to hire somebody professionally, spend a couple $1,000s and get those things situated, that's another signal that you probably shouldn't be in business. But if you are willing to do that, you don't have to feel the burden that you need to understand it all and do that, because there are people that this is what they do. And it's very simple. It's straightforward. It's highly logical. So if you're not deterred by that and go through it, the idea here is develop your idea. If the marketplace needs it, if you're solving a real problem out there and you can do it affordably, test it out. Find a customer, work through it with them.
Final question. What's the hardest part of being an entrepreneur? If you were to name like one thing.
You want to answer that one?
Repeat the question, the answer.
Yeah, so the question is, what's the hardest part of being an entrepreneur? That's a good one. I don't know. I mean, you're wearing a lot of hats, especially initially, for sure. That's a challenge. You're not going to be the expert in a lot of things that you need to be an expert in. And I mean, it's oftentimes the stress of it, right? I mean, if you take that leap and you're not, already established financially, you're putting a lot of, confidence in yourself. Maybe you got to burn the midnight oil. You got to get there, but that's always, nerve-wracking, especially out of the gate until it's proven, until the concept is proven and the revenue's there. That can be a lot of sleepless nights just hoping that, man, I know this is good. I vetted this idea, but boy, I hope the market agrees. It's tough.
What was the question?
What is one of the hardest things for you of being an entrepreneur?
So hardest things about being an entrepreneur, there's a lot of them. That's why I don't want my kids, I'm not encouraging my kids to do it. I'm encouraging my kids to do whatever it is that they love, which may be to go into business, but it's not like I would be more proud of them if they did. And I wouldn't be less proud of them either if they did. So the challenges for me are tied to that you a lot of relationships, you're going to face a lot of situations where you're going to see people differently than what you maybe used to see them as or want to see them as. And there's an internal reconciliation of it. When your name is on the line, your money is on the line, your reputation is on the line, and other people can do things that injure that and cost you revenue, they cost you reputation, they cost you time. When other people have some impact on that, that can be unnerving. And then there's a certain kind of tolerance for things being less than ideal that an entrepreneur needs to have if they're working within a team. And so those are some things, to say it simply, not everybody has the stomach to do what's required to lead a business. You have to face a lot of situations that ordinary life interactions don't prepare you for. There's this push that you have to become more and more humble as you become more and more successful, and you have to become more and more confident. So your confidence has to grow at this. Your humility has to grow at least at the same rate of your confidence, because you need to be both humble and confident to lead an organization well. So it's not for the faint of heart.
Excellent. All right, let's just sign off. Where can people find the book? And tune in for the next live.
Take it away.
All right, so the book comes out March 3rd, Embrace for Impact. We will have the link to be able to pre-order hopefully within the next week. Once we get that posted, I was told it's going to be right around the 1st of February. So as soon as we have that, we'll post that. We've got these focus workshops that we're looking to launch. The software is almost done. We've been working really hard with the team to get that situated. So you'll see some announcements around that. And we have some really good shorts coming out this week that I believe are going to be compelling and shareable. And hopefully they help inspire other people that are, I know a lot of the people that watch our channel are other creators. And I believe there's some really cool concepts in there for them to go out and create their own videos and hopefully grow their audience with.
Awesome. That's about it, folks.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Wrap it up.
Nice job, Steve.
Yeah. Well, thanks, John.